All right. Good evening, everybody. This is RAGIN with Michael Watson, episode 18. We'll be right back. We've got an intro.
Raging.
Good evening, everybody. Let me drop the card here because we've got a special guest with us, Michael Watson, Most Epic Art. And you've got a crowdfund happening right now on Kickstarter, and you are killing it over there. Michael.
Thank you so much. I very much appreciate it. But it's not just me. I got a lot of people that are in my corner helping out, and I have a damn good team that I'm very proud of, and we've been trying to push it to the best of our abilities.
Mm-hmm. Now, we at RAGIN, me specifically, I love the creative journey, and I know Nita does too. And she is sorry that she cannot be here. She is going to be in the chat rooms right now. So anybody who's tuning in, make sure that you go over to RAGIN AVC on YouTube and start interacting. If you've got questions. Yeah, if you've got questions for Michael, please ask away. We might not get to all of them, but we will certainly try. Michael, so the HOTSHOT Collection, now we've been on a couple of shows together, and it was like, for me, like, how are we going to make this a little bit different? But I love the creative journey. And the one thing that I want to ask you about, because we are going to go through your campaign, 100 issues is the thing that you are going for.
100 issues.
100 issues. Does that ever feel too big? Be honest.
Yeah. It felt much bigger when I first got started. And it felt like, I would love to get to this goal. I'm never going to get there though. But the more I've been invested in comics and the more that I've been learning and the more people that I meet that, become part of the family and the team, and, we start working on stuff, plans upgrade and things become more plausible. And, I think right now Freestyle Comics is in a really good position with this Kickstarter to do a lot of things. Right now, currently, we have 19 books out in publication. 10 of those books are Hotshot Issues, and we have about 11 more in the hole ready to to fire. So our objective is obviously, first off, deliver on the Kickstarter, get all that out to everybody. After we do that, come back in. We're going to let Hotshot ride for 3 months. First month is the campaign, second month is processing everything, and that third month delivering everything. And then we're going to come back in here and shoot for our next book, which is Emerald Quest #1. And we're going to try our best to do it consistently on a 3-month basis, and just keep going. We have enough leadway to where we should not be able to miss that 3-month mark. And that, once we establish that we can put out books for 2 years every 3 months, then, that adds more confidence, that adds more growth, that adds more experience. And, and then that 100 issue number starts to shrink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, I'm all for setting goals, right? You have the big giant goals, which, to me, it's like 100 issues sounds like so much. And it would, for me personally, it would probably be a number where I'm like, I can't look at you. I cannot look at you. I got to work on this. And I have to focus on this so that I can get this done, because that one looks too big right now.
Right.
Are there days when you're like, what the heck did I do?
Actually, no.
Really?
there's days where I'm just like, can we, how can we do better? Um,
Ah,
like for example, just along with the Kickstarter, I started building that page, and I got the page approved pretty quickly on Kickstarter. I don't know how that happened. Like they approved it lickety split, but I had people look at the Kickstarter page. Like I had Moana McAdams look at it. I had TJ Sterling look at it. I had Russell Novelty look at it. I had Sean Mack looking at the page. I had Victor Dandridge, Danny Cooper, Ted Sikora, all looking at the page and giving me feedback on it. Number one, these are a lot of people that I trust, and also these are people that have put on banger Kickstarters.
mm-hmm.
So I remember specifically, like Ted Sikora was like, I mean, I know you put a lot of work into this right now. I hate to say something, and you have to redo a lot. I'm like, Ted, say it.
Yeah.
I don't care. Just go ahead and say it. I'm trying to put on the best Kickstarter that I can, presentation wise, production wise, and all that stuff. And there have been, there was a great convo with Victor. He's my brother, and he tricked me. He was like, "Oh, I got these tickets to this movie. Let's go check out this movie." And we go see the movie, and we're hanging out. And then afterwards, he kidnaps me in his car, and he's like, "Let's talk about this Kickstarter right now. I don't think I don't think you're looking at this the right way." And Danny is my partner at FSK. He's the editor-in-chief of Freestyle Comics, and we're kind of like hand in hand with all the ideas and things, and how we're laying out stuff. So just constantly getting feedback and ideas from people. It makes things easier because I used to get offended by stuff, and then I stood outside myself and said, after realizing or having those conversations, that when people give negative feedback, it's how they give the negative feedback. And I had to realize, as you grow, that they're not giving negative feedback to hurt me; they're giving me negative feedback to help me grow. And it's not really negative feedback; it's trying to help me improve and become a stronger creator. So when you do things like that, or you have those type of experiences, that number shrinks down, and it's like, so I redid all that stuff. I remapped some things. I did some new designs on it. I probably was working on the page for like 48 hours straight, like from morning to night. But then I was so much happier with the result. And, I trust me, I'm very happy with where we're at with the page right now. And, all the support that we're getting for the page. But there was this mark between like the 7,000 and the 8,000 area where things were just slow as molasses, and I didn't want to sit on my hands. I took a couple of days off from promoting or whatever real hard. Like I backed off, but then I came back and I looked at the Kickstarter, and I was like, all right, what can I do? And then I'm inboxing other creators. You guys got some? I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? What have you done in those times? And came back and jump back into it. To try to get the juice back on it.
I kind of want to know what that conversation with Victor was like. Because it takes a really good friend to kind of do that. Somebody that you can trust and stuff, because the industry, as we know it, is we can lift each other up, but there's also a lot of bad feedback and sometimes jealousy and stuff like that. People will look at your number instead of celebrating. They go like, "Oh man, blah blah blah." So that feedback coming from people that you trust, and Victor, that conversation to turn the corner and stuff like that, and take a look with a critical eye at your campaign, that must not have been easy, but necessary. Can you? What was that conversation like for you?
Oh yeah. So the thing about it is these are regular conversations with Victor and I, and like Danny Cooper and Ren McKenzie. We've kind of adopted the rule that we don't compliment each other.
Oh.
Because we already know and believe that we're good at what we do, or we wouldn't be doing it. So it's not about praising this person, because praise isn't going to make us better.
Right.
What are we weak in, and what can we get stronger with? So one of the first things he said, like, he's like, "What do you think you need to improve on a Kickstarter?" I was like, "Probably the writing part of it, because I'm not a strong writer. I'm still learning to write. He's like, I knew you were going to say that. Nope, you're wrong. He was like, where's the enthusiasm for what you're talking about? Like, you claim to be the most enthusiastic person in comics, but when I'm reading through the Kickstarter, I'm not getting the same, sound and fare from that. So you've definitely got to amp the writing aspect of it up. These are, this book has been out for a while and there's a lot tied to it. So how are you going to pump this up? Because you're doing it on your own page. And a lot of people that are going to come to this page are going to be new. You are going to have old people, old fans who rock with it and want to continue supporting it. But you've got to speak past them. They already got their ticket. They're here. They're going to support you. What about these new people that you're going to meet or whatnot? And then our original plan for the Kickstarter was to do, we had it laid out. So we were going to do volume 1 as a Kickstarter. And then we were going to do volume 2 as a Kickstarter. Then we were going to do HOTSHOT 10. And then we're going to go to our other book. And Victor was like, dude, like, you realize you haven't come out with a new HOTSHOT book in 3 years? I was like, what are you talking about? We came out with, and then I sat there and thought, I was like, oh, shoot, no, we haven't. Like, we have not come out with a brand new HOTSHOT book in 3 years. So right now, the presentation and idea of your Kickstarter is slow. It's like you're going back to the beginning. Like, I get it. You're doing a trade and you're trying to hit the trade audience or whatnot, but it just feels like you're turning your wheels and you're stuck in one spot. You're trying to celebrate something you've already done. How can you punch this up to where it's a celebration of the old, but you're kicking in the door for the new? And and that really made me sit down and think, and went back and I talked with Danny, and we kind of cleared off the table and re-etched the plan of how we presented it. And we just figured we'll do both volumes in this Kickstarter, and we'll have the carrot on the stick that if we hit $10,000, everybody will get the brand new issue of HOTSHOT number 10 with this campaign. That way we don't have to do a HOTSHOT 10 campaign. Our very next Kickstarter is our very next new book. So we've spoken to the trade audience, to the people that want trades, but also we've opened up our entire FSK library on this. So basically the pitch is, this is your ticket to the Freestyle Comics bus for 2021, 2022. Get caught up on this Kickstarter, because next we're blowing the doors off. You're getting HOTSHOT 10, brand new. We're going to EmRequest 1. We're going to Zero Vit number 1. We're going to like new title after new title after new title. And I felt like, well, Danny and I both felt like that was a good middle ground of the old and the new.
So Victor basically kicked you in the butt and kicked you out of the nest and said, give me something new.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I did see that, and we are going to scroll through your campaign, and I'd love to play the video, but so I did notice that when you hit that $10,000 mark, you're going to unlock issue 10.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that done already? Is that the pages that you're working on? Are you working on future things?
Yeah, I'm working on it. It's Lori Foster's inking issue 11. I've got 8 more pages to draw on issue 11. Issue 10 of HOTSHOT is getting the colors done right now and the letters.
Nice. So it's really nice to know then that your Kickstarter is essentially done. I mean, you basically you're waiting for the funds and then you go to print.
Yes.
So fulfillment is going to be really quick then.
Yeah,
not
quick, but I'm hoping to have
not quick.
I'm hoping to have a nice little setup like Lori Foster did, because they got their book. They got all their stuff for Elsewhere number 2 done in a day.
Wow.
In a day, and they went to the post office the next day. So I was like, that's impressive. So
wow.
It's going to be fun. But yeah, I'm in my head, the goal is to get this quickly turned around and get it delivered as soon as possible. I know so when I did the Chat and Jar Kickstarter, as soon as I got the funds released to me, like that day, I started ordering all the extra stuff and getting that shipped off. I got the digital information shipped off to everybody. And then I was just waiting for the books to be printed. Once I got those, it was, I was doing like the daily journals of me at the table, packaging up so people knew that this was a thing that was happening, sending off the tracking numbers to everybody. They were getting their emails. So I'm trying to do that just as quick as this one. Because I want to get to the next book. I want to get to the next book very much so.
So now let's kind of rewind a little bit to young Michael Watson. The creative journey. I know, having spoken to you before, that you've always read the comic books and things. At what point in your life were you like, yeah, I'm going to I'm going to make I'm going to make comics. I'm going to launch freestyle comics. I'm going to get involved in Short Fuse Media Group. I mean, like, all of those things are not. It's not a normal path of, like, your parents going like, well, how are you going to pay the bills?
Yeah.
You know. I
I mean,
mean, what was that journey like for young Michael Watson? And at what point did you say, this is what I'm doing. This is where my passion is, and it's a path that I want to follow.
mm. Well, that comes in a couple different stages. I knew I wanted to draw comic books in the sixth grade. Me and my friend Tom started a comic book company in the sixth grade, and we were doing
In the sixth grade?
in the sixth grade. We were doing our own stories of the X-Men, and we got our whole class involved. The we had, all the guys were coming up with the stories, and they'd help with the production of stapling it and putting it together, and the girls would do the coloring of everything for us and getting the pages all lined up. We ended up, our teacher really saw that we were taking off with it, and she got it set up, or got it approved, the principal, that we had a store. So kids would leave lunch like 5 or 10 minutes early to come to our
Wow.
store to buy comic books, to buy candy and popcorn. Um, so like I wanted to do, ever since I got in, like I fell in love with comics in sixth grade. I knew that's what I wanted to do in sixth grade. And as far as doing my own comic publishing label, that really didn't come about until my experience going through critiques and stuff with Marvel and DC. Standing in line back in the day when they used to come to the comic book conventions. You'd stand in line 5 or 6 hours to have somebody go through your portfolio for 15 minutes.
Hmm.
And I did that for about 2, maybe 3 years or whatnot, and got my heart broken when it looked like I was getting a job, or in my eyes, they literally said that I did everything they asked me to do. My storytelling and all that was good. I had good anatomy, good camera angles, and things like that, or whatnot. But my style was too urban for Marvel, and that's not what they were looking for. So out of that shamble came the fact that I was like, I'm just gonna make my own comic books. I'll make them come to me,
Hmm.
and I'll use this so-called urban style to tell my own stories. Doing that, for a while on my own with Victor, actually. So not on my own, but Victor and I didn't meet till college, and we put that stuff together, and we put out a few issues of HotShot, and a lot of people liked it, and we were putting out issues on a regular basis. 22 pages, full color superhero book, independent, and that was what was catching people's eyes. The fact that like every other month we had a brand new issue of the book out, and they were like, "Who are these guys? How are they doing this? Like, where are they coming from?" And you know, everything doesn't work out the way that you plan it to. You have ups and downs and bumps, and I disappeared from doing comics because I started having a family, and I couldn't figure out how to balance that with the artwork, and I needed to get a job to support and stuff like that. So I was focused on that, and luckily I ended up getting a sponsor, and they helped me get back into the convention circuit, helped me get my comics back going, and that didn't work out. So I ended up separating from them, and I was about to go full steam back on my own, and Short Fuse Media Group came around, and I was very wary of publishers at this point. But
Hmm.
we had several conversations, like long conversations, and they were very comfortable answering my questions and being patient with me. And they spoke the language of producing comic books that was not talked about at my previous publisher, and that's what gave me the okay and the wherewithal to go ahead and say, let's ride with them. And it was like kicking in the door and being, getting a second jolt of energy on the comic book scene, and being able, to go out here, produce books, go to shows, and I had a publisher that had my back with getting content out and things like that, and they had an audience. And that's when I first got introduced to Kickstarter with Short Fuses. They had like 15 successful Kickstarters in a row,
Oh,
and
wow.
being a part of that, a company that has itself established in the Kickstarter audience, and I was established at the comic book convention, and so it was like a indie marriage that was great. And I've learned a lot from Short Fuse Media Group and Sean Mack, and all the cats that I was out there with and whatnot. And here we are, we're back on our own and venturing back into this comic book world and seeing what we can do. And that's pretty much the journey.
Yeah, well, tell me, because we have a lot of people who watch on the replay who are kind of getting into the field and things like that, especially artists and writers. How important is that portfolio, and like what is the best way to present a portfolio when you go to the different conventions? What have you learned through your years and your experience?
You have to have sequential pages in your portfolio. You should have a variety of comic pages. You should have conversation panels. You should have action panels. But I will tell you, they don't too much care about action panels. So
why do you think that is? Because action is action.
Because everybody focuses on action. Whenever they try to get a comic job, that's what everybody does. I can throw a dime at a crowd of 100 people and hit somebody that can draw an action scene, but give me somebody that can draw a conversation of people just sitting there talking in a room with background, or a building of people just walking through the city and things like that. I would have 3 to 4 pages of action, one pinup, and the rest of that would be regular conversation stuff. Even if it's like aliens on a spaceship talking,
right?
Or just show animals with legs and things like that, like Animorphs or whatever, but show that you can do regular stuff. Your action pages are going to speak for themselves. It doesn't take a lot to see that somebody can do action. But then also, while you're doing your portfolio, you should be working on your own projects. You should have your own IP thing that you're working on, just for yourself, just to have that. And go to comic book conventions. There are still people there looking. I know Marvel and DC aren't a whole lot present at comic book conventions, but there are other studios. There are other creators. Don't be afraid to get feedback, because everybody ain't gonna like your stuff, and you're gonna come across people who are gonna be very honest, who have no time to kiss your ass, who has no time to consider your feelings. You're asking them to give you feedback on your portfolio. They're gonna give you feedback on your portfolio, and you need to have a strong enough skin to be able to take that and see the content that they're giving you. And at the end of the day, you don't have to listen to them. Like, just because somebody says this, and that doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but you need to be unbiased enough to see where the content does matter for you. You should be able to pick and choose. You should be able to pick what of value was in that conversation versus what's not of value in that conversation. And I would be mailing off stuff as well to different studios on a regular basis. Once a month, get something out to a different studio. Keep your pages updated. Always start off with your strongest stuff to open up the portfolio to really catch their attention and keep them pulled in. I remember I had a DC editor look at my stuff, and he was looking at it and he was like, "Man, I love it. Like, your stuff's really good. But that building right there, though, I don't know about that building, man. I'm looking at this building. I know it's a building, right? But you know what? I don't know if I can take a shit in that building." That's tough.
Wow.
I should be able to look at that building and say, I can go in there and I can take a shit. So I think you need to work on your buildings. I was like, okay.
Wow.
I got the memo. So, I worked on my buildings. I worked on, making sure I had reference when I was drawing buildings and things like that. So,
well, I think that speaks to perspective too. The depth and everything, because a lot of people, I don't think they understand that backgrounds are kind of important. It puts your characters in a home or a location. Yeah.
And there's clever ways to do it. Once you get yourself established or whatnot. One of my favorite artists, he does what's called an establishing panel that sets up the scene, and then the rest of the panels for the conversation is just a colored background. Because we've already established where these people are talking. We've done that establishing panel. So there's ways around it, but in order to have those ways around it, you still have to have a good page layout. You have to still have a good eye. You got to be able to like lead people through the page, because the most important thing in a comic book page is being able to tell a story. And I don't think some people realize that there's some people that suck at making comic books, that like they're drawing, like you wouldn't, like you pick up the book and like, I'm not buying this, I can draw better than this person, so why should I buy this book?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that person got a job because they meet a deadline, they don't complain about shit, and they get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
They've got all the basics. And while you're saying you can draw better than this person, can you tell a story better than this person? Because this person's still telling a story. So it doesn't matter your skill and how well you can draw the comic book. The first priority is, can you tell a story in a comic book?
Now, I get that for writing, but how do you do that with art?
So it's a sinister blend of you've got to have, the page has to have balance. Your eye needs to be able to weave left to right, up to down, without knowing that's what you're doing. And it depends on the writer that you get as well, because there's some writers that are super, super detailed, and then there are writers who are super lax with how they write the story. I could have a writer that puts four panels too many on a page to do something, but as an artist, it's my job to condense those panels into 1 or 2 panels instead of the 4. Like, hey, I can shrink this down here and I can shrink that down here. That is going to be based on how well my storytelling is, and that's going to be, what camera angle did I use? Where did I lay the camera at? What perspective am I using here? How close? How am I using the foreground, middle ground, and background?
Mm-hmm. Now, so I've seen a lot of artists, especially on Facebook and Instagram, they're sharing some panels, they're sharing their art, and you see that progression in their art.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with HotShot, is HotShot going to be the 100 issues that you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
We do have HotShot plotted for 100 issues.
So now with HotShot going across this much larger story arc, of course, with the smaller story arcs, that build up to it. Your art, you are the primary artist for this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you ever feel like, oh, I want to try something different, and then you're like, no, Michael, don't do that?
Not that I want to try something different, but when I look at the scheme that we have laid out for the book, a part of me is like, should I get another artist to help draw it? Like, if I'm drawing one issue, they draw the next issue. But then the slapping comes in hand. It's like, no, I want credit for drawing all 100 issues. I want, when people say it, they say Michael Watson drew issue 0 through 100 for this entire series, or whatnot. So I do want that credit for it or whatnot. But again, as we work, as we grow, as we get more knowledge and more experience, the plan may get updated. I may just say, you know what, the story is bigger than, me wanting to draw every single issue. In order for us to get this out the way I want to get it out, maybe I do need to get another artist on here.
Right. But how about as far as style and things like that? Because, the more you draw it, the easier it's going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe like some of those details will either be finer. Do you ever say, I've got to either introduce that slowly so that you can kind of see this progression, or do you kind of want that consistency in the art throughout? Because that's gotta be tough. Because you as an artist, you're always going to be learning and you're improving, and your speed is going to, just by default, just because you're doing it.
Yeah, that's one of the best parts I think about the book, is that if you read HotShot 1, 2, 3, 0, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, you see the progression of the art, you see the progression of the storytelling, of the production of the book, and like it grows with every single issue. And there may be some jumps in there too. So I don't worry about introducing the style slowly, because I'm influenced and inspired by my own fandoms. So me reading My Hero Academia, like I may have been inspired by Steve Scroce in the last issue of HotShot, but you can clearly tell I'm being inspired by My Hero Academia in the next issue or whatnot. I'm not concerned by that, because that's what adds the excitement and fire to it. Mm-hmm. Because I don't read a lot of mainstream comic books anymore. I read mangas now. I read a ton of indie books, and so my influence is coming from those things, and I know a lot of indie creatives, so I'm watching them work. I work with some of them, or I may get sneak peeks at their project and stuff, and like somebody just drew this amazing picture of Ace Blade today for Danny J Quick, and I was like, when I first saw the pencil, I was like, oh, okay, that's nice. But then he did the whole thing, inks and colors. I was like, oh shit, that came together great.
Uh-huh.
Like, and then, and that's funny to see how somebody does the whole project themselves, because they know their strengths and weaknesses better than anybody else. So they know where to lax off and they know where to pick up. And when I saw that whole thing, like, I was like, that was a good drawing to begin with, but it just went up 10 levels, like with the whole thing. So when I see something like that, now I'm really looking at what they're doing, because now I can see their pencils, and now I can see their colors. I'm like, all right, what did this guy do? Where was he at? Like, what was he at mentally when he was putting this from that stage? And like, I'm trying to take my own little notes. I'm like, look, I like how he drew that knee. I like that knee. Like, how can I incorporate it into my work? So I'm constantly like looking at other people's stuff, because I know I haven't solved everything. Like, I know there's things that I could draw better and work on, which is why I do my one show chat and draw, because I never know when I'm going to get on that episode until I bring that person on the show. And I purposely don't, I don't do any preliminary art. I do it the day of the show, the night that I have them on there. And I've gotten horror, I've gotten thriller, I've gotten all types of stuff. And when Lori Foster comes on, every single one of her characters is a damn gun. So I'm always drawing a gun in some perspective in the show, and I'm terrible at drawing guns, but I'm forcing myself to draw the things that I don't normally draw, so I can improve.
Yeah, that takes dedication to the craft. Well, Michael, we are at 32 minutes. I'm going to take a little quick break here by sharing this out for a 10% discount on your Gemini mailers. Make sure that you go to Gemini Comic Supply. That's GeminiComicSupply.com and use Volt 10 to save 10% on your Gemini mailers. And that is courtesy of Indie Volt. Thank you, Varian Grant, for sharing that with us here over on RAGIN. And we're back. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to pull up your campaign again. And I would love to... Oops, let me put that up here. I would love to play the video. Are we good to do that?
Yeah, we're good to do that.
All right, awesome. Let me just get that up here. And we're going to do a full screen. Nice. I think my favorite quote is "Amazing, my mom." Oh, that's awesome.
It's real feedback. My mom is brutally honest. She does not, like, when I used to draw stuff, my mom did not compliment me. She told me, like, you should be doing this, like, you should work on this. Like, so yeah, that's a real praise from my mom.
Yeah, moms are tough. My own mom is kind of tough when it comes to feedback and stuff like that, Actually, my mom doesn't understand me at all. She's like, what are you doing to pay the bills? So now there is a $10,000 goal, which is huge for me. I can't even contemplate that kind of number. You've got 172 backers right now, 5 days to go. I think that you're going to make it. I mean, it's looking really, really good. But let's kind of go through this campaign here. Backathon. What What is this? This looks new on your campaign.
Yeah. So one of the tips I got from my many creative friends is to add updates at the top of the page. Now that the page has been going for, about almost 3 weeks now. Well, yeah,
Mhm.
over 3 weeks. So yesterday, one of the things I was trying to sit at and trying to figure out, like, how can I inject some juice? How can I, like, I just always want to, I don't want to look back at the Kickstarter and feel like I didn't do enough to get us to where I want us to be. I don't want to ever have any regrets with that. So we decided to do an FSK Day Part 2, of a smaller scale. But the Backathon we streamed yesterday when I got off work from 6. It was supposed to be from 6 to midnight, but I canceled out at
Ooh.
11. I got tired. But our goal was to unlock a new tier, which was a $1 tier that got you 15 digital comics for free. We wanted to get 50 people to back the campaign that night at $1, which would get them those comic books. And
Wow.
for every 5 people we got that night, we would add an FSK digital book on there. Um, so we're up to we actually got 5-star number one added on there extra, and our book called the source book number one on there. So right now you're getting 17 digital comic books for free. Well, not for free, for the $1
Mhm.
pledge, because we feel like, so we've already hit our goal. And yes, I understand I'm being greedy by trying to hit $10,000 on the Kickstarter, but the more money we get, the more we can do, and
Oh,
that's my
absolutely.
key. But now that we've hit our goal and we've had a nice progression on this Kickstarter, I feel like now the value is in how many people we have on the Kickstarter. There's certain things that are triggered on Kickstarter when someone else backs your Kickstarter, like they send out emails to those people's friends and the
Mhm.
guys that maybe you'll like this thing too. And we want to send off as many emails as possible. Brant Fowler, Brant, he sent me a message like the second day of the Kickstarter. He was like, "Look, I blurred out the names, but I just thought this was cool." His email, when his friends um, donated to the Kickstarter, he had like 15 people that had donated to the Kickstarter that were all his friends that he got alerted to. And he's like, "Dude, I just think that's really cool, man. You're killing it right now.
Mhm.
Good stuff." And so I was like, "Oh wow, that is like, thank you for sharing that with me." And then my head got to working like, "All right, how can I do that more? What else can we do to get that alert moving more? Or, just get it in the algorithm or whatever, how
Sure.
we pronounce that word." But so it was just me hanging out with some of my cool ass indie friends. Lori Foster came, Veronica Smith came, Tony Clapper hung out with us. Uh, Danny J. Quick was supposed to come, but he couldn't make it. Andy hung out with us. Shaggy Cordy, he came and hang out with us for a bit. And we did some Kahoot trivia. We did like 3 of them, and that was fun. We gave inside look at Hotshot number 10. I snuck a Hotshot 11 page in there as well. We talked about our work process, how we make these comic books and stuff like that. Some of my friends from Cleveland were watching, so they started dropping the tea. So I had to tell some stories from back in the day when I lived in Cleveland. But
Uh-huh.
we got 8 people to back the campaign last night, and that was good. I wanted, of course, we want more, but we still had fun. We had good engagement. People were asking us questions and things like that, and they were hanging out with us. And I'd been working since 7 o'clock in the morning that day, and then doing the stream. I was like, you know what? I'm not as young as I used to be, and this was kind
Mhm.
of just like thrown together as just trying to get some more juice into the Kickstarter or whatnot. So we wrapped it up a bit earlier or whatnot, but it was still fun. It was still fun. We unlocked all these books for everybody, and I'm just always trying to think, what can we do to get the wheels moving, keep those wheels greased for the momentum, and I think it helped because we did all that yesterday, and we cracked 9,000 yesterday, and now
Mhm.
we're at 9,531 today, on the verge of hitting 10.
Yeah. I mean, the $1 campaign, I think, is amazing. The fact that it's not just a tip, I mean, you like get nothing but thanks, but you're actually giving them a digital product, which is
Mhm.
really cool. Um, but it also, that's one of the things that I really like about Kickstarter is that it does notify your friends. So if you're following people and they back it, you're going to get a notification. And sometimes that can seem overwhelming, especially it's like ba-ding, 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 But at the same time, it's like, oh, that means people are really looking at it, and it
Yeah.
speaks to a quality campaign and a quality product, as far as I'm concerned. But that $1, for a lot of people who might not know what it's about, and to kind of get a clue as to the things that, it's freestyle comics, these books. Yes, is this
Yeah.
under the freestyle? Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
uh yeah, so I mean that's really
Oh,
kind of.
I'm sorry, I missed the last part. What did you say?
Oh, it was just, I was just saying it's really kind of cool that you're including those other books so that people can see what else is in the library.
Oh, well, in that library, that's all my indie friends. That's all their books.
Hmm.
Amazing titles such as Tap Dance Killer, Super, um, Ace Blade, um, Ichabod Jones, Broke Down in Four Dead Bodies, Wildcard Chronicles #1, tons of books like that. But and I'm very appreciative of each one of them allowing me access to their book to be able to do things like that because they're
Hmm.
awesome for considering that. And the indie community has been wicked great over this year during the pandemic, but also to entice people. I know times are hard and money's tight, so even asking for $1, it's for some people that's really hard to do. But if we're still finding a way to get them something, um, you know, then let's try to do that. We only got a couple more days left, and we've asked a lot from people in this campaign. I've had a lot of people adjusting their pledges and sharing out things like that. I just feel like the more indie books that they get, the more chances to create fans, and then they go
Sure.
back to those creators, for their potential Kickstarters, for where they're selling the books at the stores, and they make more money. So I just figured the more people see it, the better it is for everybody.
Hmm. Now I have to say this is one of my favorite panels here. I see the hole in the sock. He's all tore up and everything. He's in a rush. You absolutely know. I mean, talk about an action scene, but there's so much here and I just love it. I'm like, I get this guy. I've been there.
Mhm.
I think it's great, and it speaks to, I think, the writing too. Because you are making those connections, those between your characters, where the dialogue seems really organic.
Yeah, Victor did a great job with that in the first 6 issues. I could show people that were completely not interested. Actually, this is a true story. Couple people I worked with at the Boys and Girls Club, completely not interested in comics at all. I gave them the script to issue 3 of Hotshot, and they asked me, "When are you making this book?" Like they
Mm,
wanted more, and that was just from the script. No art, no superheroes fighting or anything like that. Just the conversation between Mike and Carla once she discovered that he was a superhero.
right, right. Now let me see here. There was something in here that I had seen. So, I mean, we had spoken about this on another show, but when you had created Hotshot, that this was kind of a tough time in your life. You were kind of going through a breakup. Was writing and drawing, was that kind of your escape to deal with it or to escape? What was that process like for you?
I feel like at the time it was like therapy for me to work it out in my head and
Hmm.
get it on paper. Um, at that time, what did I know? I was a 20-year-old college kid. I thought it was the end of the world, that I never have a love as great as that one, because I hadn't done anything. So I took it hard or whatnot. But of course, as you grow, you get experience, you learn, and that's not the end of all things, that you can find something that a lot of times you find something better, because you take those experiences and you learn from them. So, but I think it definitely helped me get out of it, because I would do my job as an RA. I would go out with my friends. I'm all smiling and stuff. But the moment I came back in my dorm room, I'm laid out on the floor crying about the whole situation, and wishing I could change things. So
Hmm.
I never got diagnosed or anything like that. So to me, I felt like, looking back on that situation, I felt like I was going through depression. I never got, medically, approved for that or anything like that. But I felt like that was the closest thing. That was the closest to rock bottom that I felt, in regards to that, those type of feelings and things like that. So it did really help to have the comic book and get to explore those things, because it got me to understand there was no going back.
Right.
Like that was kind of like the premise. I wanted to know, we all Peter Parker always gets back with Mary Jane, even if the devil separates them, they find a way back to each other. Pepper Potts always gets back with Tony Stark's. Like the relationship is always safe. So how do you explore and how does your character deal with it when it's not going to happen? It's their fault. You're not getting them back because, like that one classic song, when a woman's fed up, she's fed up.
Mm. And there's a fine line between being like too realistic, because a lot of people, they want to turn to comic books for escapism. So you have the hero aspect, but to bring in that realism also helps us connect emotionally to it. And that's one of the things that I love about this page is that, you see the breakup.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and coming from her her perspective, having had similar conversations like this in my own life, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, a guy wrote this. It was like, no, seriously. I mean, I don't want to get in trouble for saying that, but it's true. I was just like, whoa, that's really good, to have that perspective and be able to convey it. And the way that you did here, with he's like, you know,
Dude, it's all those little nuances that Victor brought, and then it made me have to step up.
mm-hmm.
It made me have to step up as an artist as well. So I had to I had to look up lots of reference of facial expressions of talking, because we have a lot of conversations in Hotshot, and it's not just knock 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 knock. These people are talking with feelings,
Yeah.
and so uh, you know I I've always enjoyed drawing those type of things, drawing those conversations, but Victor would weave the words in there and bring those characters to life.
And it's kind of funny too, because and we're showing your team right now on the screen, but it's kind of funny too, because if you watch actors or even singers, um, when they are expressing something and you can see that they're in the zone, the face is not always pretty,
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
not.
So by you depicting that is really, it shows that you have really studied the art. You've studied people and their expressions and things like that, and I can appreciate that as somebody who is a consumer, not an artist. But I love reading. I love the images and I love the imagery that you've been putting together.
Thank you very much.
Um, so now we've got about 15 minutes here, and I know that you've given shout outs to your team, but let's kind of go through your team here again. Co-creator and writer Victor Dandridge, he's been with you for this whole journey.
Yeah,
Um, what is that like? So having that communication at this point, is it kind of like, um, I mean, what is that communication like?
uh,
And do you ever butt heads, or have you kind of reached a
oh
place
yeah.
where? Mhm.
Well, we've butted heads before, and then there are things that we don't agree on, but once we've said our piece to each other, we said our piece to each other. If we end up taking a different route, we take that route, and it is what it is. But we spoke up as brothers. Hey, I'm
Mhm.
not feeling that. I don't think that's going to work, or whatnot. That has been said, or whatnot. But at this stage of our relationship, we can talk and voice any and all concerns,
Mhm.
and with no regard. Like if we don't say anything, then we failed our relationship. But
Right. So you're
um,
not afraid, like if you agree to disagree, it's not like a breakup.
no, no. If we agree to disagree, it's like we just did. So, well, hope you prove me wrong. Like I
Mhm.
don't I don't want you to fail. But at the end of the day, we know that we each have to walk our own road.
Right. Right. Because that form of communication is, there are a lot of people, and it speaks to what you said earlier about having a thick skin, right?
Mhm.
Because when you get feedback from people who mean well, sometimes we don't take it that way. We might have a bad day or something, and so it's really hard to hear it.
Yeah.
And so it speaks to motivation. It speaks to the people that you're surrounding yourself with, and stuff. So it's but when somebody comes to you, and it could be with all love and everything, and they say, no, it doesn't look right. That's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was actually one situation where we almost got into a fight,
Hmm.
fist hand combat, like we were going at it, and
Wow.
Danny had to step in the middle of us to break it up. Like so, it's never escalated to anything like that again.
Hmm.
We talk a lot, and we're very honest with each other about things. So I think that was it was around issue 3 of Hot Shot or whatnot. So
Hmm.
you could say that the relationship was still kind of new. Like we've gone to a couple comic book conventions, but like I remember when Victor said that our actual brothership was forged. So I don't think that moment had happened yet or whatnot. But uh, we had growing pains, but we were still in there.
Right. I think that's really important too, because those growing pains are going to happen. It's like even as you bring on more writers and maybe more artists and things into your projects, you have to figure out how to talk to them, what makes them tick, and learn how to communicate, because what works with one person might not work with
With
another
the next person.
person. Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so you've got Danny Cooper here, editor, lead letterer. Veronica Smith is here as well, lead
Mhm.
colorist. Love the colors and stuff like that. Lori Foster here, Gary Mitchell, Carrie Kelly. But wait, there's more. So now tell us a little bit about this. I know that you spoke about it before with the verse. There's so much going on here. What are they with this trade paperback? What are they getting? What's in this one book? And not talking about like the extras or the add-ons.
Well, in the trade, so we're doing two trades: a volume 1 and a volume 2. Volume
Mhm.
1's collecting issues 1 through 4 of Hot Shot, and volume 2 is collecting issues 5 through 8 of Hot Shot. If you want to get the complete story, you need to get issue 0 as an add-on, and issue 9 as an add-on, and that would be the whole Hot Shot franchise right now.
Mhm. So now explain to me, all right? Because counting, hot shot one, two, three, and then it goes to zero. Like what the hell, Michael? What's up with
Um,
that?
well, we didn't want to do 0 as a first issue because actually we didn't think of 0 until after we got done with 3. We knew we wanted to do a story focused on Carla to see things from her perspective.
Hmm.
And what we had written down, it wasn't 22 pages at that moment. And I wrote that story about Carla, and again, my growing legs of writing were just starting there or whatnot, and they're still growing. So we had about a 15-page story for Carla and her side, and then Victor came in with another 10 pages for how Hotshot got his costume. And we figured these were side stories. We didn't necessarily believe that this was a full-on a number 4 issue.
Right, right.
But we weren't going to letter it because we wanted to do something like a Nuff Said issue that Marvel did. So we called it an issue 0. We've seen other comic books come out with issue zeros a couple issues after their number 1 and number 2. So we figured we do the same thing, and and that's all she wrote.
Okay, yeah, because I have Aspie brain and Asperger's, so I would go one, two, three, um, zero. It doesn't belong there, but that makes sense now. Thank you for clarifying that, because I'm like, why would you do that? It's just it's me. I have OCD and stuff like that too, so it's my brain. But yeah, I mean, like these are some amazing covers that you've got here. Now, are
Thank you.
these covers or are these prints?
Those are all covers.
Okay, I love them. Okay, so the early bird special, we can say that that's probably over with. And I just
We
kind of
still
want
have, actually, we still have 3 more on the earlier bird special.
Oh, nice. Okay. And then you've got your level 1, level 2, with the various things here. I just want to kind of scroll through here because I wanted to get to um, some of the swag and like what made you determine like I'm looking at this verse LP. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, so I'm so freestyle comics. The name literally comes from hip hop. I love original hip hop, old school hip hop that actually has a message that actually says something where people actually rhyme. But I,
What?
I compare making a comic book to freestyling because at its core, when you're drawing the pages, you're doing freestyle art. Like I may get reference here and there or whatnot, but like for
Mhm.
the most part, I'm freestyling the art on that book. So that's where freestyle comics comes from. And a lot of verbiage and terminology and terms that we use are related to hip hop. But so it only makes sense that we wanted to do music that related to it as well. So I gave a couple, some artists I'm fans of, uh, and gave them books, asked them to read it, and whatever they came up with is what they came up with. And we had 6 tracks that we put together on an LP. Um,
Now,
along
are they all
with
different
that.
artists or the same artist?
No, they're all different artists.
Wow, that's cool. And did you what kind of guidance did you have for them as far as I mean, you just kind of gave them the books
Yeah,
and
I
they
just gave
just
them the
came
books and
back
walked away.
with
I didn't give them any. I didn't give any say on how the song should be or whatnot. I just gave them the books, let them read it. I was like, whatever you come up with is what you come up with.
so now is the LP, is that an add-on or is that something that comes in one of the tiers?
It comes in a few different tiers, but you can add it on as well.
Okay, that is super cool. Now they're local artists, or did you kind of put a shout out and a cattle call?
A couple artists are from Columbus, Ohio. Diggy Dolce, she is one of the dopest female rappers that I've ever heard. I absolutely love her. Huge, huge fan of her.
Hmm.
Andre Lomax is another hip hop artist here in Columbus. My brother Faze Anon from Cleveland put together. He actually did 2 songs. Um, we got. It's been a while since I put these tracks together. But we've had, a lot of them did come from Columbus, and a couple of them came from Cleveland.
That is really cool, and I love this cover too. I mean, it's like happy times, but then you kind of see the rip
Yeah,
in there.
yeah. Ryan Robinson did the paints on that.
Hmm.
I'm a big fan of his work. I follow him on Facebook, and I knew I wanted him to do something, but I had to have it. It had to be the right cover, and that's the one that spoke to me for him.
Yeah, I mean, when you saw this, what was your reaction though?
Oh, I jumped out my seat. I freaking loved it. It was spot on. It's an updated version of the original cover. The original cover was more comic style. It was
Mhm.
black and white photo. So I was like, let's go ahead and let's do a color photo of them, real happy, and start tearing that mug down the middle.
Yeah. And then, of course, you got the merchandise with the mask and the T-shirts and things like that. Now, is the LP, when your Kickstarter is over, is that going to be available anywhere? Is this merchandise also?
This
And your books, of course.
Yeah, so after we get done with the Kickstarter, our store will be up and running for people to order the books and stuff from.
Mhm.
T-shirts will be available as well as these FSK hats. I normally have not put the music up there for its own individual purchase, but I have gifted the music. Like, say, if you bought Hotshot 1, you get a track with Hotshot 1 or a track with Hotshot 2 or something like
Mhm.
that. And I normally save the entirety of the album for Kickstarters.
Okay. Well, that makes it nice because that drives people and that's kind of a testament to you studying the platform also. It's like what's going to drive people and kind of give them an exclusive.
Mhm.
That's smart.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like I steal a lot of ideas from other people, man. I said, like, I talked to Russell, I talked to TJ, Lori, Moana, Victor,
Mhm.
tons of people about Kickstarter, and Sean Mack. Sean's probably the person I learned the most from about Kickstarters. He's run pretty much all of them for short fuse, and I took over for 2 years.
Mhm.
And he worked with me on those Kickstarters, and then like the last 2 or 3. I kind of managed on my own. Still getting feedback and stuff from him and whatnot. So, the best compliment is stealing. So a lot of people have a lot of good ideas. So
Now we are at an hour, and if I could have you for a couple more minutes,
mhm.
I do want to talk about the voiceover and the $10,000 goal here.
Okay.
Um, the voiceover episode 1, is
hmm
that in production? Has that already been done? Like, what was the thought process behind having this as an option?
Well, I was intending to do it because I go to a lot of schools and do workshops and,
Mhm.
and teaching and things like that. And when I'm reading the books, the kids really like it when I do the voices of the books or whatnot. And then I started using Kahoot to tell the stories, and I had voiceovers for it. I did a voiceover for the comic a while ago that was not good. So
Oh,
So I really wanted to revisit that, and Danny J. Quick and Morgan do a voiceover podcast for their comic books. That sounds immaculate. It's super fantastic.
so
And
wait a minute. Did you said it was not good? Is that because you thought it was not good, or somebody else came back and said, "Yo, Michael"? Mm-mm.
a lot of people enjoy it. I don't think it sounds good because I did like 13 of the voices.
Okay.
So it's entertaining, but I wanted to revisit that. Again, I'm learning constantly, so learning to pass off things to other people to do things. So I've got artists to help me, cut the book up and add effects to it and do some motion to it. But for specifics for this one, we're just doing the audio version of it for this Kickstarter.
Mhm.
Because I am going to release the animated version of it onto either our YouTube page or our Patreon page or whatnot.
Wow, animated too.
Well, not like motion comic, like
Right,
not
right,
full
right.
on that animated or whatnot. But
But
I've
just
already got
having
the
the
cast.
frames up and voiceovers and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Yes,
yeah.
nice,
So I
nice.
already got the cast of voices for it. We started working on it, and then I did all the stuff with the Kickstarter, and I've had to back off of it for the last couple of weeks or whatnot. But we're jumping back into it. Obviously, it just got unlocked, so we definitely have to finish it up. But shouldn't take us long at all. I've got some great people doing the voice acting, so I'm very much so looking forward to everyone hearing this thing. I'm I'm very much looking forward to issue 3. I'm doing a voice work for that. I've got a couple people helping me do the artwork and cutting the books out for the motion books or whatnot. So, we want to do a lot of stuff. We want to make sure that we're staying not necessarily relevant, but we're staying present
Right.
within the scene of comic books, and there's different mediums that affect and bring attention. And if I could make these audio videos and put them on YouTube, and some 7-year-old kid sees them and now they want to buy comic books, then that's great because that was a
Mhm.
chance that they would have never saw that because I didn't open up the door for that type of opportunity. So we want to make sure that we are trying to, reach people in different outlets. We're in a time where people are always on their cell phones. So I can put clips of it on TikTok, on Instagram. So
Right. Well, and you kind of touched on it a little bit here. What is the target age group for Hotshot?
the target age group really is, what I've come to tell people, do you let your kids watch the MCU movies?
Hmm.
If you let your kids watch the MCU movies, they can read Hotshot.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because a lot of people, they see superheroes and things like that. And this was a discussion earlier where, somebody was like, um, they won't let their kids watch XYZ, but they'll let their little girl dress as Harley Quinn, who is a
Yeah,
serial killer. It's just, so having that bit of guidance and knowledge in the type of book and the type of audience that you're wanting. So I mean, maybe some cussing and stuff, but really not explicit, right?
yeah. When we very rarely do cuss in the book, but when we do the symbols for it.
Yeah. And so here we are with the $10,000 goal. It's in your sights. And I love how you did here. I don't know if you can see my mouse, the way that you've numbered it 010. All
Mhm.
right. Road to 100. Road to 100. I see what
Yes,
you did there. I see
yes.
what you did. You're almost there. And this is going to be the 10th issue. I think you're doing fantastic job. I
That
saw what you did.
thank you so much. That's such a subtle little thing. I was like, we're putting 3 digits up here. Damn it. I want to ingrain in my head that we're going for 100 issues.
Oh, well, Michael, again, we are a little bit over our hour, and I want to thank you so much for spending the time with us on RAGIN. Of course, we are live streaming to Indie Vault, Comics and More New Jersey, as well as Geek Insider. Where can people follow you?
Oh, well, it's I've also learned about this thing called branding. So
Mhm.
you can follow me on all social media networks as Most Epic Art on all social media branding. You can find me there. Then of course, freestylecomics.net for the current Kickstarter. Once the Kickstarter is over, that will turn over into our store. And if I could say, Charlie McElvey just gave me some news, and Travis Gibb did too, that I want to let people know. So when we hit 10,000, you're going to get Hotshot number 10 for free.
Ooh.
But you're also going to get Cthulhu Invades Oz, the 168-page award-winning anthology book from Travis Gibb and Company, which
Mhm.
features an indie all-star creative smorgasbord. And Charlie sent me a message saying that he's going to donate one physical copy of Spider Squirrel number 1, plus an 8-card trading set, one hollow foil card to the Hotshot campaign, all signed by him once we break 10,000. So that's like
Ooh,
we're that
now
far.
what are you gonna do with that? Are you gonna have like a random drawing for your
Yeah,
what?
I'm gonna
Nice.
do a random drawing out of all the people that have pledged to the Kickstarter to give them that Spider Squirrel, but everybody's gonna get Cthulhu Invades Oz and Hotshot number 10.
All right. Shout out to Travis Gibb and team
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
that. So, okay. So, everybody, Most Epic Art, make sure that you follow him all over the social medias. If you are watching on YouTube and the replay, check out the show notes because we've got the links to his socials as well as his Kickstarter. Make sure that you give it some love. If you can't throw $1 at it, and even with $1, you're going to get something.
Yeah.
Okay, even with $1, you're going to get something. But if you can't, hit the share button. That's free, and share it out with your network so that more people can give it love. He has got 5 more days to go to hit that goal. It's huge. It's a milestone, and I wish you the best of luck with that. Michael Watson, thank you so much for joining us on Ragin.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me onto your platform to talk to your audience and giving me the time and consideration to have this conversation. I really appreciate it.
Loved it. Loved every minute of it. And keep on drawing, man. You got a long way to go. I don't envy you, but I will be keeping an eye on you. All right, you guys, have a great evening. Thank you for tuning in. Again, make sure that you check out the show notes, hit the subscribe button, follow us on the social media. This is Ragin, and we are, my partner's not out here. Hey, Michael, do me a favor.
What's up?
Say, throw my dudes.
Throw my dudes.
Thank you.